7:20 Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Shawn Gumataotao, that's it. That's all. Another fine podcast on the KUAM podcast network. We got a little sniblet of the new episode. Shawn, what's the title of this one?
How? Oh man, you just got me all crazy. It was the title of my speech to the Guam Chamber of Commerce. It's about spending federal funds.
Right, and so well, there's definitely a lot you can say about that. And here's the latest clip from the newest episode of That's It. That's all on the KUAM podcast network.
Back at that process, there was one thing that was for certain. The governor of Guam can use those federal monies as he, meaning Governor Camacho, and to some extent Governor Calvo, feels is best for the people of Guam. Yes, priorities were set and approved by the Obama administration. Back at that process, there was one thing that was for certain. The governor of Guam can use those federal monies as he, meaning Governor Camacho, and to some extent Governor Calvo feels is best for the people of Guam. Yes, priorities were set and approved by the Obama administration. Audits were performed. The fruits of the work that conservatives on the Hill then and some in the opposition were kind of hung up about was an improvement of government of Guam programs and services. Now, the trick is not just building these programs and projects, it is the commitment to maintain them over time. More on that in a bit. Using federal funds at a local level really is the job of our chief executive. It is the executive branch agencies that are tasked to execute these programs and account for the funds they use to support so many parts of our island society.
I guess, I mean, I can get the gist of the discussion, but do you want to expand a little bit on it?
Guam, and what I did was I took the speech because a lot of people couldn't be there. Obviously, it was a great opportunity for me to speak to the chamber, and I really appreciate Kathy Castro and Teo and the board of the Guam Chamber for inviting me. That means that they're listening to the KWAM podcast network, right? They are listening to this podcast or my podcast for sure. And again, how federal funding is used in Guam. And so as we were thinking about it, Trish was even saying, my executive producer, the big boss at Get LLC said, hey, they didn't get a chance to hear it. I think maybe you might want to share it. So far, so good. The response has been really good. And I think the speech was well received. And then what it did, Chris, was interesting because I was able to, Ed Untalon, the chairman of the chamber, and some of the stuff you might have read, but it kind of spurred a whole discussion about what can the chamber do and to kind of understand this whole effort more, to also even the action pack was at the fundraiser the next day. So again, a lot of interest to what's happening up in Adelup, and obviously what will happen with the balance of federal monies from this coronavirus pandemic and how that'll be spent over the next couple of days. And the response, I mean, you probably heard the governor just a couple of days ago. I mean, we were talking about in the break. You had a little tweet. Adelup responded. Well, it sounded like an article, and the way that things been happening, respond as well. So you know that these are listening, and at least they're looking what's happening on Twitter to be able to help get the word out. In terms of timing, we can debate that long and hard, but again, it goes back to who has the control over federal funds in this particular federal effort, and that would be the governor of Guam.
Right. Yeah, Shawn, and just to go back a little backstory, guys, I did tweet out something about the spending of the federal monies, and then there was a response from the digital engagement manager, Logan Ragerstown Adelup, and basically what he did was he said, hey, you can't say we're not giving this money out because we've given X amount for RISE Act, X amount for the homeowners assistance, and he just kind of went down the line, to which I replied, well, we're kind of like a pass-through for these federal funds. And I think it's interesting where we're at now in this campaign is these dueling advertisements from, both the congressman and the office of the governor about, kind of trying to take credit for the federal funding that's coming into Guam.
Yeah, and we were talking about it before. Maybe that they're a little upset that Mike used the image of Adelup to kind of throw it at him, right? Maybe that was the case, but then, but when we think about it, yeah, it was. I mean, yeah, it's another quip back and forth. And obviously, as we're in the middle of this political season, why not? All that money started somewhere, and they want to make sure that everyone knows where it came from. So even down to the disclaimer, which I think was so is paid for by government funds. I thought that was pretty interesting because it's like, okay, are you? Of course, it came from there. Obviously,
Right.
if you're using the logo,
Right. Sean, I wanted to ask, and let's play devil's advocate here, or
Sure.
ad-loop advocate, if you will. That response, they're hoarding the money, and then the response is, how can we be hoarding the money when we have, and they have on paper, it's right there. They've given, X amount for Programa Salapi, Rise Act, the different programs. So how do you kind of counter that argument where people say she's sitting on the money, it's collecting interest in the bank, but then they counter and say, oh, well, hold up there, because we have given out, hundreds of millions of dollars in different types of assistance.
If I'm playing the Adeloop advocate, then I'd be saying, oh, we're making plans to spend it. Just stay tuned, kind of thing. But again, it goes back to the idea that she already got all the communication from all this every part of the community. And just is there some kind of something that we are not aware of that is blocking getting out those funds? As the island is reopened, in a sense, wouldn't it have been better to do that maybe a couple weeks ago? Why hold on to $300+ million when everything seems to be hunky dory? Oh, well, I think the response is going on. I think we got to be a little bit more measured, but you just spent, I don't know, $2 or $3 trillion. So it doesn't, it's just, if I'm on that, it should have already been spent. And I don't see what would be the holdup. The people need it. You and I, Chris, are out doing things like, regular things like a gas station run, maybe to the store. And people definitely are hurting and looking for some help. And when this help is gone, I think that's the question I had to the chamber is once it's done, what do you do after? We have a lot of, my understanding is you have a lot of unclassified workers. Are they going to get permanized? Absolutely, they're going to try. But then you're growing government. We've watched over the last, 12 years of trying to, control that cost. And then in one shot is exploded in terms of people working. And our people deserve better from its government.
Shawn Gumataotao, that's it. That's all. Yeah, it doesn't get any more concise than that. Shawn, the new episode, it's up everywhere. Fine podcasts are found, right?
That's right. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music, also on the iHeartRadio app and on Pandora. And again, we're happy to be on the KYM Podcast Network. And you had the judiciary on, and it was kind of nice to see them. And I know that they've got to be listening right now because everyone's getting into work right now, as the rest of Guam is. So, I'm hoping that all those employees understand what they're seeing, right? Is all this idea of how we're going to be using, how we use federal funds. And I think they understand how to use it too. Even a little bit of a, tip to them during the speech. But it's as a community, especially with what's happening with the federal government, with our federal spend now, we all should be watching it very, very closely.
Yeah, Shawn, I just had this thought this morning that we were so blessed to receive not just one, but 2 rounds of, massive federal funding. But, when we wake up and kind of take a look around at what's going on Guam, it's kind of the same problems, even with, massive amount of money sitting in the bank. So.
Yeah, one thing, Chris, I was just on the response in American Samoa, and let me tell you that, and how fortunate we are. We might have seen this money, but we had COVID early. They just got their cases over the last 2 months, maybe month, and they didn't have a chance for that. And their community is absolutely suffering because of the fact that they did their part. They contained it. They were very restrictive in their movement. Things were just happening, and then one case, which exploded across all of Tutuia. So we have to, when we think about the response of the federal government across the board, the territories, CNMI, they fared well. They've been open doing, tourism with Korea and the like. Yeah. And we just got to just count our blessings and understand, like I've been saying on this show, the way to get us back and get us kind of underway is open up, get the emergency out, and that there's recovery plans, Chris. They've been in play since I was in the administration, right? So yeah. It's time to get that plan out and get to work. There should be no exit plan. We got to get back to work. And if we're living with it, right, we have to get those recovery plans in play. And let's show the rest of the world that we're open and that we're ready for business. And let's enjoy, the fruits of whatever was given to us and be measured over with this kind of effort for the next 10 years plus.
Yeah, I got to say, just outside looking in the span of 1 week, we saw a pronouncement from Adelup relative to the Liberation Day parade, and I think the quote from the governor was "Let's party," right? And then you had then on the other side the extension of the public health emergency. So I think for a lot of people, they're trying to reconcile it in their heads. Are we partying, or is it an emergency, or is it the type of emergency that we can safely party in? Like, when the typhoon's coming and you're outside in the back with the boys barbecuing and drinking beer. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like, again, what's the definition of emergency?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we just redefined that to our community and our island society. I think as we look at the decisions that are made, you and your listeners, right, and everyone that's watching multimedia, we have to ask that question. If it's an emergency, then why make the pronouncement of let's go have fun? Because there's nothing fun about COVID deaths. There's been nothing fun about infections. There's been nothing fun about locking up our economy. If it's so much fun, then I think we got to just drop it, because those words do matter still. And they really better matter to all of us, because we all have families that we got to protect. And I guess all comes down to how they feel, what that fun, maybe it's the PHUN like confunction back in the 80s, right? That's how they wanted to fight it.
All
so
right.
Maybe that might be it.
Thank you, Shawn. Good stuff. That's it. That's all. It's everywhere. Appreciate it, my friend.
All right. Have a great day, Chris.
There you go. Shawn Gumataotao. Yep. I don't know if is your speech to the chamber up anywhere, Shawn? Is it on YouTube or something?
That's why I know they had it. They might have recorded, but that's why I put it on the podcast. So the chance I almost read it verbatim.
Okay.
Like I gave it to the chamber. So if you're wondering what I said, there's a picture, but it's on the podcast for sure.
Thank you. And we just gave you a little snapshot of what he said. You can get the whole thing on the KUAM podcast network at 7:31 right here on the link. Let's go ahead and get into the hearing for Bill 291. Sir, I've prepared some clips. I was very careful to make sure that we have equal viewpoints here on the link. I wanted to start with, where's my folder? Hold on, sir. Actually, let's take a quick break. We'll take a quick break. I got to get situated here. We're coming back. We're brought to you by Cavo Enterprises IT